Hey, it's Charles again with an entry for the 16th of April, 2014, and today I'm going to be talking about anti-heroes. And recently there's been a lot of TV shows with the anti-hero as the main character. The first one that I can really remember was The Shield, which dealt with Mike Chiklis' character. I can't remember his name right now, but he was a a cop that did shady things in the pursuit of providing for his family and the good of like the community, kind of, but it was more for like the good of himself. But he was the main character, and he was supposed to like you're supposed to kind of root for him, but also kind of like you know root against him a little bit. I mean, he was obviously, he was obviously corrupt. He was a corrupt cop, but who did, bad things. I remember in the first episode, I think he murdered a police officer that was, you know, secretly informing on him. And yeah, so he was a bad police officer, but, he was trying to, he was still busting criminals and solving cases. So he was like a bad police officer, but he was also still trying to do good. So you're kind of rooting, that you're rooting for his character in the sense that, you you want him to like not get caught, but then you also like he's also doing bad things. So it's kind of like it's like this give and take of good and bad. And a lot of people enjoy characters like that because there's a complexity to it. Like like I just said, there's a good and bad to it. And so, you want him to do one situation, whereas you don't want him to do another situation. So, there's a like a pull, a given pull towards the character, and for me, I can't like I like to root for the main character. Like I can't really like get behind a character that I know is doing bad things. Another example, though I kind of disagree with, is Dexter, because Dexter kills people. He like kills serial killers, but then he only killed serial killers. So it's kind of like he's a bad character in the sense that he like kills people, but he's a good character in the sense of he only kills bad people. Um, then again, I'm not really too familiar with Dexter because I've yet to actually see it. But I've read the Wikipedia stories, and I've looked at episode summaries and plot summaries. But I mean that if all he does is really kill bad people, then that's something that I can get more behind in the sense that he's only killing bad people. He's not hurting any innocent people. Whereas Mike Chiklis' character in The Shield was actually like he was killing, like I just said, he killed that police officer that was secretly informing on them, and he's killed other innocent people. If I remember from my brief watching of the Shield. Um, Yeah, but for some reason, I don't enjoy shows with anti-heroes. Like I know that show Breaking Bad is supposed to be one of the best shows like of all time, and I have yet to really watch it, and I don't really have any inclination to because I can't get behind the anti-hero. It's I mean obviously it's kind of that they're not relatable for me. I mean obviously I know that most heroes aren't relatable. I mean Superman. I like Superman, the cartoons, but obviously I can't relate to Superman because I'm not, a superhero. But just I like the idea that people are out to do good, that that heroes do exist, and people try to make the world a better place. And I don't really want to like watch somebody intentionally do bad things just to see how it turns out for them. Like I mean I enjoyed the idea of the TV show 24 with Jack Bauer. Although I remember a couple of times he had to legitimately like kill terrorists during interrogations and stuff like that. And that was kind of more like it was for the greater good, and these were bad people that he was, having to do these bad things to. And that was kind of like that I understood a little bit more. Like you have to do, one person has to do bad things in order to, like save the nation or something like that. And that's a little bit more like heroic to me than, if, one person's just selling drugs like in Breaking Bad in order to just, provide for their family. That's kind of like, it's not as heroic. And I don't know, I want my TV, I guess, to be, hopeful and, to fill me with hope that there's good in the world. I mean, obviously, I get enough, like, showing that there's bad in the world. Like, I remember one time when I was younger, probably in my mid-teens, maybe, I had purchased this video game, and you were this vampire who went around, sucking the blood of innocent people in order to get, like energy or health. And I couldn't really play it that much because it didn't make me feel like I wanted, it didn't make me feel like I wanted the character to survive and I wanted to get through it and things, because it was a character doing, bad things in order to just further their own agenda. And like I said, that's just it doesn't I guess it just doesn't make me like feel good about it. I mean, I know that's a naive sense because in the world, everybody has to kind of like even in the world, we have to kind of step on other people. I mean, if I want to get promoted at work, that means that somebody else doesn't get promoted at work. If I want to make maximum profit, selling something on Craigslist, that means that somebody has to pay me the maximum amount. So it's like I could, if I was really in it for the other person, I could drop my price down to barely like nothing, or I could just give it to them. So, I mean, I understand that the world is full of like one person benefits, another person maybe doesn't benefit as much. Maybe they benefit more, the other person doesn't benefit as much. So I understand that there's like a constant scale. Um, but I guess when it comes to TV and entertainment, I want to see good shit happen. Like I want the hero to win. You know, I remember when I was younger, I was watching this movie with my father. I can't remember much about the movie, um, but all I remember was that the main character was shot and killed at the end, and it wasn't like a heroic death. It was kind of one of those like the conspirators are still at large thing, and like the conspiracy is still like undetected kind of endings. And for me, that was just like it was like a shitty movie. It's just like, all right, so I just watched like 2 hours of some guy struggling against an enemy just to fail at the end. And it was like, what's the point of that? I don't need to watch that. Like, it was just it left it unresolved. But I mean that's a different scenario than the anti-hero. I guess I just, like I said, I just want to feel like there's good in the world, and I want good to triumph over evil. I don't want like semi-evil to beat up on other semi-evil. I guess I want it more cut and dry. You know, but I mean, I understand that when you have like kind of an anti-hero, there's more complexity that can be drawn to it. Like Superman was always had to be good, so it limited him in complexity. I mean, every situation it was just like, oh, what's Superman gonna do? Oh, the best, the goodest thing that he could do. Like like aliens were gonna take over the world. It was just like, oh, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna try and cut a deal with them? Try and get them to like maybe not like destroy the world, just give them a little bit. It was like, no, he's gonna kill them and like save the world, and it's just a very like non-complex because there's no gray area to it. It's always just white and black, you know. Whereas with an anti-hero, there's a lot more gray and there's a lot more like an internal struggle of like doing good but also doing bad. So I guess that that drama makes good TV. Um, According to TNT, that's all you need for good TV is drama. So I mean, I guess there's that, but for me, it's just like I don't know. I want to feel good about my TV. Obviously I want to be entertained, but I don't want like I don't need anything else reminding me that the world is shitty. I think I get that enough. I mean, like I remember I was reading this book. I think it was called Terminal by Brian Keene, and it was about this. It was about this guy who found out that he only had like 6 months to live or something, and he wanted to provide for his family, so he decided to rob a bank. And then, in the end, his plan failed, and he was like no, in the end, he there was like this. It got really sci-fi, and there was like this magical kid who like cured him of his disease, but then he and his buddies accidentally killed the kid. So then it turned out that he was going to die in the end anyways, and his wife and child left him in the end. And for me, that was just a shitty ending. Like obviously, it was like he shouldn't have been, the you shouldn't have been reinforced for such a situation, deciding to rob a bank or anything. But it shouldn't have been such a shitty ending. Like that movie, the ending that I kind of liked with John, what was it? I think Denzel Washington with John Q was he was pushed into a corner, um, and then he like took the law into his own hands by holding the holding the emergency area hostage in order to force him to give his son a new heart. And in the end, he was sent to prison, but his son survived. So it was kind of like his bad behavior wasn't reinforced, but it kind of was in the end because his son was saved. So I mean, in all honesty, that's kind of a bad lesson to give the world. Like you don't get something that you want, you kind of like you do whatever the fuck you have to do, no matter what it costs other people. Like, like I need, $100,000 for, cancer treatment. Like, what's to stop me from robbing a bank myself? It's not a good lesson for the world, but in one movie scenario, it was a good watch. But yeah, like I said, this is kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent, but like I said, I don't like anti-heroes because I'm not as naive and childlike with like GI Joe, where like the bad guys, they never or the good guys, they never get killed, they never get hurt, kind of like an A Team, where there are like thousands and thousands of rounds of ammunition being shot around and nobody gets hurt, and even the good guys never hurt the bad guys. They just put them out of business or they put them down. I mean, that's kind of like beyond belief. Whereas, like, you know, the good guys are too good. But I mean, like there are movies where, like a war movie, where the overall good side wins versus like the overall bad side, and those are the kind of movies that I enjoy, like a Saving Private Ryan kind of movie where like all the main characters didn't survive, but the kind of the good side, the American side, won in the end, and that's the kind of thing I like to see. Like I wouldn't really want to see the German side win, because obviously they were the evil in the movie. They were the enemy, and that's kind of like I always want to feel like the good guy won. The best person should win in the end, and when the anti-hero wins, even if they're partially good or even if they're partially good and only a little bit bad, it still leaves like a bad taste in my mouth, or like an upset stomach, whereas the greater good might not have won, and that that kind of unsettles me a little bit, and that's not how I'm entertained. But I mean, I understand that it's all personal preference. You know, people like Breaking Bad because they like the drama of it, and you know they're more able to separate. Oh, of course, fucking this show isn't real. It's just it makes good TV because there's a lot of drama and there's a lot of like what's he gonna do next, and like it's very hard to predict and stuff like that. And a lot of people like that kind of TV, and they're able to get past the badness versus the goodness in it, and then it's just they're able to just like get a better handle on the characters, and it's unpredictable, it's less formulaic than a lot of other TV, and I guess some people like that, but for me, like I like it to be unpredictable and thought provoking, but I also like the good guys to win, and I always like to feel like I can root for the main character because they are a good guy. Um, like I don't want to root for somebody that's a shitty character, that's a shitty guy. Um, like there's in How I Met Your Mother. It's kind of funny because Barney Stinson, he hates the Karate Kid because he hates the fact that the Karate Kid wins against the against the other dojo, and it's kind of funny because everybody, all of like the other How I Met Your Mother characters are just like, dude, it was the other dojo was like the bad guy, and then he was like, no, the other dojo is the good guy, and he was all these reasons about like why why the main character was like a bad guy, like he performed like an illegal move. He came in and he just like beat up all the other guys, and it's kind of funny because it's just like just how you see a movie and who you want to root for. I mean, Barney Stinson still wanted to root for the good guy, but he was able to twist the movie in his mind and say that the other dojo, in essence what's supposed to be the bad guy, was in fact the good guy, and so thus he could root for them. He could rightly root for them. Had they been had in his mind they been the bad guy, then maybe he would not have been able to root for them. And that's it's it was obviously just done because it was comedic and it was funny. But I mean, it's interesting how they had to be perceived as the good guy for him to get behind them. I mean, it's kind of like I want if like there's a bad character killing off good guys, I would more likely root for the other characters, even though they weren't technically the main character, just because I want to see the side of good win. But I mean that's just me. Anyways, I if you have the same inclinations as me, I mean I enjoy hearing your opinions on it and like why you enjoy, rooting for this character or why you don't enjoy rooting for that character. Because I do find it strange in the fact that I can't, I'm still childlike and naive in that sense that I want good to always prevail. Um, but yeah, I mean that's the end. If you have any questions, any comments, you know how to get in touch with me. Anyways, thanks for listening.